creativity can solve almost any problem. The creative act, the defeat of habit by originality, overcomes everything. And I really believe that. And what I try to teach is that every idea should seemingly be outrageous. You were changing the culture, making political and graphic statements that grabs at the heart and makes statements about what the hell you think life should be about.
Así.
Get up off of that thing and dance to you feel better. Get up off of that thing. Try to release that pressure. Get up off.
When you got it, flog them. Tell them, Dally, baby.
Get up off of that thing and shake the sand.
Not all Olivetti girls are girls.
I want my maple.
I want my MTV.
I want my MTV.
My old pal Ovaltine.
I can make Tommy Hilfiger famous and important brand in a couple hours.
George turbocharged my success. It was not my choice to run this campaign. The ads ran, people went crazy.
Damn good advice. Please welcome George Lois.
I got you. I got you by the balls.
We got him now. We got him, Georgia, brother. Hey, Arkansas, brother.
Growing up in a loving Greek family in the Bronx, it was understood that the only son of Charalambos and Vasiliki Loi would finish high school and take over his father's flower shop. But my drawings at PS7 caught the eye of my 8th grade art teacher, Mrs. Engel, who handed me a black string portfolio filled with my drawings which she had saved and sent me to the High School of Music and Art, the greatest institution of learning since Alexander sat at the feet of Aristotle. After my first day of music and art, I knew that I would never be a florist. At music and art, I was inspired by the Bauhaus movement, which had ignited a modernist approach in the design world that illuminated new possibilities in two-dimensional graphics, culminating with young Paul Rand, the first major art director in advertising to articulate a new graphic design freedom. We all need heroes. Mine is Paul Rand, an iconoclast who made it big in a constipated business world. When I was 15 years old, Paul Rand showed me that with talent, conviction, and courage, you can change the world. The 50s were the golden age of modernism and American graphic design. Paul Rand, Bill Golden, Lou Dorsman, Herb Lubauer, and Gene Federico were known as the New York School of Design. And I was inducted by them as the enfant terrible of the movement. But with that strong design background, I have never regarded myself as a designer. I am a graphic communicator because I create big ideas, not designs. Surely, great graphic design is not merely the aesthetic arrangement of lines and shapes. Great graphic design is the transformation of a big idea into an unforgettable image. I have always understood that when an original idea springs out of a communicator's head and intuitions, the mystical blending or even juxtaposition of concept, copy, and art can lead to magic where 1 and 1 can indeed be 3. When that idea is dramatized by a unique image in synergy with words that memorably communicate in a nanosecond, there is always an immediate intellectual and visceral human response. My concern has always been with creating images that catch people's eyes, penetrate their minds, warm their hearts, and cause them to act. And additionally, I've always understood that truly great graphic and verbal communication reflects and adapts to the culture, anticipates the culture, criticizes changes in the culture, and helps to change the culture. When you enter any creative field, if you instinctively feel the way to go is against a conservative, indoctrinated society, and buck the trend and understand the zeitgeist of the time, and indeed are mystically ahead of the culture, you will have the passion and capability to become a cultural provocateur. Abraham Lincoln said, "To sin by silence when they should protest makes cowards of men." The best of us whose creations can be thought of as art are cultural provocateurs, infused with subversion against all kinds of authority, even God. So if you're aspiring to be a pioneer in your chosen creative field and want to create great work and succeed, not only in your profession but in life, your mission is not to sedate, but to awaken, to disturb, to communicate, to command, to instigate, and more importantly, to provoke. Join with us in the creative community who say, "Oshi to fascism, then and now." Say "Oshi to racism, anti-Semitism." And homophobia. Say "Oshi to tax cheats who threaten the future of Greece." Say "Oshi to government that benefits the wealthy at the expense of the poor and powerless." Say yes every October 28th and be proud of your heritage. I know that in the act of creativity, being careful guarantees sameness and mediocrity, which means your work will be invisible. You can be cautious or you can be creative, but there's no such thing as a cautious creative. Better to be reckless than careful, better to be bold than safe, better to have your work seen and remembered or you're struck out. There is no middle ground. But understand, a talented but meek creative personality who allows big ideas to be trampled upon can never join the pantheon of the greats, because timidity and fear of the fray leads to mediocrity. The more innovative your idea, the more courageous you must be to sell it. With all the lucky breaks or unhappily, a catastrophe that may befall us, I believe a person still decides their own fate, that they're ordained what kind of family life they lead, what they believe in, and what kind of work they produce. Understand one thing. Throughout your whole career, you can decide that no one ever can make you run bad work. A client can kill and kill and kill what you think is right for him, but he can't make you run bad work. Working hard and breathing great and doing great work is as imperative as breathing. Creating great work warms the heart and enriches the soul. Those of us lucky enough to spend our days doing something we love, something we're good at, are rich. One of the most personally fulfilling campaigns in my career was for the Greek National Tourist Organization, which begged me in 1985 to somehow contain terminal damage to tourism to Greece after President Reagan publicly and nastily warned Americans to stay clear of the Athens airport because of a skyjacking and hostage-taking in the Middle East. Planes carrying tourists stopped midair. Hotels were empty, cruise ships were being beached, and nobody was dancing the aisles of Olympic Airways, TWA, or the Isles of the Aegean. A miracle was needed. A miracle that could only happen through the power of the big idea. I'm going home to Greece. But instead of recruiting famous Hellenic American celebs such as Telly Savalas, Jimmy the Greek, or Olympia Dukakis, I made a 180-degree turn from the obvious and went after Americans of non-Greek ancestry who were going home to Greece, the birthplace of democracy, where it all began. We offered free flights to the celebrities and their family on empty planes, free hotel stays in empty hotels, free passage through the Greek Isles on empty ships. Celebrities lined up in droves, and I enlisted 37 of them. The obvious delight in their surprising destination was a sublime assurance to Americans of a safe trip. Our commercials were picked up by the networks and ran gratis as a news story, rejecting President Reagan and demonstrating how famous Americans would not kowtow to terrorists.
My ancestors came to the New World from England in 1637. Now this pilgrim's going home to Greece.
My grandparents came to America from a little fishing village in Norway, and now I'm going home to Greece.
Greece, the birthplace of Western civilization. That's why every American feels at home in this lovely land. and Olympic Airways will fly you home in style. So America, go home to Greece, where it all began.
This Hungarian's going home to Greece.
Olympic and TWA flights filled to capacity within a few weeks, and the Greek economy enjoyed a landslide tourist season, their most glorious ever or since.
My folks went to Beaver Falls straight from their farm in Hungary. Now I'm going home to Greece.
My grandparents came to America from Ireland, and now this Dubliner is going home to Greece.
My great-grandfather came to this country from Oslo, Norway in 1850, and now I'm going home to Greece.
Greece, the birthplace of Western civilization. That's why every American feels at home the minute they set foot in this lovely land.
My ancestors went from Spain to Puerto Rico, and now I'm going home to Greece.
My mother was coming from Russia to this wonderful America. Now I'm going home, but to Greece.
Olympic Airways, the national carrier of Greece, will fly you home in style, and Sunline Cruises will spoil you as you visit the Greek islands. So America, go home. Go home to Greece, where it all began.
This Sicilian's going home to Greece.
Creativity can solve any problem. The creative act, the defeat of habit by originality, overcomes everything. I believe that. Now, I was asked to dwell upon the unfathomable T.S. Eliot phrase, what we call the beginning is the end, and to make an end is to make a beginning. The end is where we start from. What? My favorite quote about the passage of time comes from William Faulkner. The past is never dead, he said. It's not even past. A conceptual thought that talks to the possibility of keeping alive what one accomplishes in their short lifetime. Dying isn't important. It's what you do before you die that's important. In 2008, in an act of defining that the past is never dead, it's not even past, the Museum of Modern Art installed dozens of the Esquire covers I created in the 1960s in their permanent art collections, celebrated with a year-long exhibition. My first cover, I predicted correctly that champion Floyd Patterson, a huge favorite, would be knocked out by Sonny Liston. But I also showed what losing meant in our tough world, being left for dead. In a terrible time of racial turmoil and the emergence of the Black Panthers and Eldridge Cleaver, I depicted badass Sonny Liston as Santa Claus. When Cassius Clay saw this cover, he said, "Hey, George, that's the last black motherfucker white America wants to see coming down their chimney." John F. Kennedy crying for his lost destiny, or are they the tears of the reader? A portrait of Ed Sullivan with a shit-eating grin the day after he introduced the Beatles to America on CBS television. A cheeky cover on the approaching women's movement. This cover infuriated the establishment, but in 1965, the college students of America embraced my composite of four revolutionaries: Bob Dylan, Malcolm X, Fidel Castro, and John F. Kennedy. A premature indictment of the Vietnam War. The words of an American soldier when he comes upon the body of a Vietnamese child he killed. When Vice President Hubert Humphrey was defending Lyndon Johnson on his Vietnam War escalations, I had the dummy say, I had known for 16 years his courage, his wisdom, his tact, his passion, and his leadership. You tell him, Hubert. The decisive moment when Jack Ruby shot Lee Harvey Oswald dead live in front of millions, young and old. After Richard Nixon lost the '62 election to John F. Kennedy because he looked evil in a TV debate, he was evil, I showed him preparing for his next run for president with a beauty makeover. Apotheosis, paying tribute to our assassinated leaders, the three most mourned Americans since FDR, John F. Kennedy, Robert Kennedy, and Dr. King in a dreamlike epitaph on the murder of American goodness and a prayer for the resurrection of American ideals. Lieutenant Calley, awaiting trial for his 1968 massacre of 500 civilians at My Lai, posing symbolically with 4 children he had cold-bloodedly murdered. Anti-war demonstrations were met by derision and police violence. I had to apologize for this cover, but not to the cops. I apologized to the pigs. A symbol of the juxtaposition of the celebration of pop culture with the deconstruction of celebrity. Andy Warhol drowning in his own soup. Andy loved that cover. He wanted to trade it, the artwork for it, for 12 Billo boxes. And I told him, Andy, I can go to the neighborhood grocery store and the 12 Billo boxes in the street. Anyway, we never traded, and he was after me for 20 years to trade it. And I refused to send it to him because I said one day it would be in the Museum of Modern Art. And a couple of years ago, it went in. And lastly, race, religion, and the Vietnam War in one startling image, showing Muhammad Ali as a martyr for refusing to fight in a terrible war. The Associated Press called it the most iconic image of the 1960s. I contend that in all fields of creativity, that if you reject con, you can create icon. If you do it right, it and you will live forever.
Mm-hmm.